Good morning. Welcome to 2026 this morning, June 6th. Happy Friday. We made it. And we have two new teams in the World Cup. How about that? Two debutantes. Congrats, Uzbekistan. Congrats, Jordan. And when I say new teams, I really mean new teams. These are both teams that have never made the World Cup. They've qualified for 2026. They've qualified for the first time ever. I didn't expect yesterday to be a day that would happen. Uzbekistan just needed a point against United Arab Emirates to confirm their spot. But Jordan needed a few things to happen. Namely, they needed to win and have Iraq lose. And that did happen. So big day there. As it started, Jordan was 1 point ahead of Iraq. Jordan took care of business. Then they had to wait for Iraq to play South Korea. So South Korea, maybe luckily for Jordan, wasn't confirmed qualified yet. They were in a good position, but they still needed to win, especially after Jordan won. And Iraq got a red card in the first half. So that really pushed down. Korea went on to win 2-0. So actually we have three teams that qualified yesterday. I'm only talking about the two because they're quite exciting, somewhat unexpected, or at least unexpected if we looked at this back at the beginning of the year. But we have Uzbekistan, Jordan, and South Korea all now punching their ticket to World Cup 2026. All right, let's take a look and talk a bit about the rest of the qualifying matches from yesterday, starting in Asia. The only other real big match there would be Australia. Australia versus Japan. Japan had already qualified, but Australia needed to win to stay above Saudi Arabia. 3 points ahead of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia won, and Australia came through in the 90th minute. Bayic scored his first international goal in 13 years, his first international goal since 2012. Scored a nice one in the 90th minute to keep 3 points ahead and basically qualifying. So here's the current qualification round for Asia. You'll see the teams that are qualified. So we have Iran already qualified, Uzbekistan qualified yesterday, South Korea qualified yesterday, Jordan qualified yesterday, Japan already qualified. The only other question is Australia, but you don't see here the extended table. They're actually up on goal differential over Saudi Arabia by 8 goals. So they do play on Tuesday. Australia, all they need to do to qualify is to avoid a defeat by 5 goals. They play in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. And then if we look down at these blue ones, so these are the teams that qualify not for the World Cup, but for the next phase. So these 6 teams will be in 2 groups of 3, with the winner of each group qualifying for 2026 as well. And there we have UAE and Qatar already qualified for that next round. We have Iraq already qualified for the next round, likely Saudi Arabia and Indonesia. So the only thing that's really up in the air for when these teams play on Tuesday, aside from Australia, unless something really catastrophic happens to them, would be Oman and Palestine playing for that 4th place and moving on to the next round. They do play each other. If Palestine wins, they get 4th place, they move on. If any other result, it will be Oman moving on to the next round. So that was the big news yesterday. There were also some South American qualification games. Not too much on the line. The big game is actually today. We'll talk about that in a moment. Ecuador and Brazil tied 0-0. Carlo Ancelotti's first game in charge as Brazil coach. Nothing too exciting. It was in Ecuador. The teams both got a point, and it worked out pretty well. They're still in good position. Here's the table. They're still in good position to advance, even with just 1 point. Both teams. Another game, Paraguay beat Uruguay 2-0. That put Paraguay in a very strong position, moving them up from 5th to 3rd. Also putting more distance between them and Uruguay, and most importantly, them in 7th place. So Paraguay looking good to qualify. Really nice qualification round so far for them. And then the last game was Argentina, already qualified against Chile. Argentina won and officially knocked out Chile from direct qualification. But 10 points, not looking too great. And as I said, the big game in South America is today. So that will be here, trying to get that seventh spot, which will get into the intercontinental playoffs. And the team from South America that gets there will probably be a seeded team, so they'll only have to win one more game after that. I'm assuming that these top six stay the same. Maybe one of them could be caught if Venezuela does well. But today we have Venezuela versus Bolivia. It's in Venezuela, but so if Venezuela can take that victory, they'll really put some room between themselves and Bolivia. Venezuela never qualified for the World Cup. This may be their best chance. The other game today is Colombia versus Peru. So, and it is in Colombia. Colombia does, need to win to stay in good position above Venezuela. If Venezuela wins and Colombia fails to win, then we can start talking again about Colombia slipping down to 7th place there. So that'll be interesting. But Colombia's got a strong team. They're underperforming so far, so I think they'll take that victory over Peru, who haven't shown too much this session, this qualifying campaign. So I think Colombia will win, and I think Venezuela will win, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. Yep, so those are 2 South American games. We also have some European qualification going on today. Still pretty early there. Czechia, Czech Republic could really get on top of things if they're able to beat Montenegro. So, not an insignificant match. Both those teams are on 6 points. If one of them wins, they really set themselves above. Croatia hasn't played yet, but still, getting 9 points right now would be pretty nice. The other big game today, Italy versus Norway. So Norway won their first 2. Italy hasn't played yet, so we'll really see if Norway is legit, if they can challenge Italy for a spot and for the spot in the World Cup, with the winner taking that group. It's in Oslo, so we'll see. Again, is Norway legit? Belgium kicks off their campaign. They haven't played yet in Skopje, so that will be interesting too. It could be a tough place to play. We'll see, is Belgium too old? Do they have any young players? What will happen there? And then we also have a set of games in CONCACAF. So each group plays 1 game today. The way they set this up is the groups were drawn into pots, and this is pot 2 playing pot 3. So in essence, these should be the 2 teams that are fighting for second place in their group. The way these groups work are the top 2 teams qualify for the next phase. So it should be sort of up for grabs, and big games today. Obviously, that's not how it always works. So if we look at that table there, we'll see Antigua and Barbuda aren't really doing well. Cuba should, or if they win, they can push up ahead of Bermuda. Here we have a very close group. The game today is St. Kitts and Nevis versus Trinidad and Tobago. So that will be a big one. If St. Kitts can pull off the upset, they'll move into a potential qualification spot. St. Lucia not really doing too well. They would have to upset Curacao to stay in the mix. Guyana versus Nicaragua. So this could be, again, Guyana could push into that top 2 if they can pull off a victory today. And Guatemala versus Dominican Republic, same thing. Guatemala can push into that top 2 and challenge. Dominican Republic with a victory, an upset, could push into there. Dog, not a fan of Guatemala. And then last we have Puerto Rico versus Suriname. So this is another big one. They're top 2 right now. El Salvador plays tomorrow, I think against Anguilla, so that should be a victory there. So really we'll see between these 2 teams who can sort of keep their place in the top. So big day today, big day of qualification. Definitely check out Bolivia and Venezuela. Check out Italy, Norway. Those are the fun games today. One with big implications for South America, the other just sort of a test to see how UEFA is going to look, at least that one small group. I'll be back tomorrow going over all the implications of the games that happened today and previewing tomorrow. So World Cup 2026, just over a year away. Things are getting into high gear now that the club season is over, and we can really look into these international games. They'll just kind of keep coming through this week. Peace.